Thanks to 1 for the opportunity to present today. We're presenting Blackstone Minerals. We're listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, ticker BSX, and we think we have some of the highest grade cobalt and gold, and we're located in British Columbia in Canada. We listed the company just under 18 months ago on 3 West Australian gold and nickel exploration assets, and we picked up the Little Gem project halfway through last year, started drilling Little Gem late last year. Our first hole intersected 3% cobalt and 44 grams per tonne gold. That's some of the highest grade cobalt and gold you'll see anywhere in the world. We'll talk a little bit about the West Australian assets, but obviously the focus for us is on the cobalt, and the battery metals is clearly where everyone's interest is at the moment. So we've got a nice tight capital structure, being a fairly young company, just under 100 million shares on issue, roughly around $25 million market cap in Australian dollar terms, well funded, just under $4 million in the bank, and well funded for the next 3 to 6 months at Little Gem. Board of management own 26%, and the vendors own around 16%, so a very tight capital structure. You can see the share price appreciation has commenced around the same time that we announced the acquisition of this very high-grade cobalt gold project in BC. We've got a board of management team that have been working together for the last 20 years. A real history of big gold discoveries, multi-million ounce gold discoveries in West Africa. Hamish Halliday, he is the founder of Adamas, that was taken over by Endeavour after a multi-million ounce discovery in West Africa. Steve Parsons, very similar story with Griffin Minerals, which was taken over by Teranga. So we've got a real technical team, but a real history of big discoveries and corporate success. And hopefully Little Gem is the next chapter in that story. So here's a bit of a snapshot. That rock there is grading 6% cobalt, 1.3 ounce per tonne gold. So we're 6 hours out of Vancouver, 3 hours out of Whistler. Terrible site visit. I've done a lot of time in Africa, and now I've finally got one of the best site visits in the world, and not going to have any issues trying to invite analysts and brokers to head just north of Whistler. So we're in a historic gold mining district called Braylon. Braylon is the most prolific gold belt in British Columbia. They've mined 4.4 million ounces at 17 grams per tonne gold, so it's a very high-grade gold district. Little Gem was actually discovered at the same time as Braylon, around the 1930s. We think that the prospectors at the time were looking for gold, and the cobalt is actually the reason why they've left it behind. The cobalt at the time would have been a deleterious element or a negative, and you can see in the adits that they've explored looking for gold. They've left the cobalt in the adits, and they've tried to extract the gold, but the problem is that the gold comes with the cobalt. In this day and age, that's not an issue. Obviously, we're looking for cobalt, and gold's a great byproduct. We've got some historic data to follow up on, a lot of historic geophysics, historic drilling intercepts there, some very good grades, sort of 1 to 2, 3% cobalt, very high grade gold in that historic drilling. Adit channel sampling results from historic results of massive sulfides running sort of 4 or 5% cobalt, and ounce per tonne gold or higher. The interesting thing is the disseminated sulfide zones are still running very high grade gold, and cobalt. So our low grade disseminated zones are much better than anything else out there, and it's interesting that the cobalt and the gold really carry through these disseminated zones, and they're the zones that are going to give us scale and potential an underground mine scenario. So that's the historic data. This was our first hole late last year. We intersected 3% cobalt, 44 grams per tonne gold. Over the broader intercept, we're still hitting 1% cobalt, 15 gold. So that over 4.3 metres, that the broader intercept, which is is a good mining width for an underground mining scenario, still hitting 1% cobalt, which is equivalent to about 20 grams per tonne gold. So we're talking ounce per tonne gold equivalent here. We've just released the next 2 holes. The second hole missed the high grade zones. We think we have stacked high grade lenses. The market was fairly brutal on that. We actually traded down significantly on the fact that we set the bar very high with that first hole. The second hole missed the high grade zones. The third hole hit 1% cobalt. So it's been a little bit of a mixed bag for the first 3 holes. And a bit of a roller coaster, but when we do hit the mineralisation, we're hitting some of the highest grades you'll find anywhere. So this is a plan view of the Little Gem. You can see that outcrop is 300 metres of strike. The adits have only really tested about a 50 metre zone through that 300 metres. We'll drill that 300 metre zone over the next 6 months, and hopefully that within that zone is where we're targeting and potentially looking towards a maiden resource by the end of the year. So you can see we're on the other side of the hill, and we're drilling across from right to left, and that's the first 3 holes. We'll now just continue fanning out from the left to right of screen and testing that entire 300 metre strike. We've also got cobalt and gold anomalism and in-stream sediments a kilometre out to the east and half a kilometre to the west. So we've got a 1.8 kilometre strike target zone at Little Gem. We've also got 2 other targets that are more copper-gold dominant targets. We'll do some IP geophysics over that 1.8 kilometre strike. We'll also do some geophysics up towards the north around that jewel prospect as well. Once we finalised the deal, we actually did a little bit more research, and we're trying to work out where does this type of mineralisation occur elsewhere in the world. The Williamson mine is the only primary cobalt mine in the world. It's located in Morocco. It's owned by the state-owned entity Managem. We have the exact same geological setting, which is a serpentinized ultramafic on a contact with a quartz diorite. Once we realised that, we've pegged our entire belt back in British Columbia. We think there's potential for multiple deposits, a belt scale opportunity. They've been mining for 75 years. They've still got a head grade of 1% cobalt. So this is the best cobalt mine in the world and the highest grade. And it's the only primary cobalt mine. So we now have 48 kilometres of that particular geological setting, where we've basically pegged the whole belt where that geological setting occurs. So we think we'll send teams of geologists out looking for cobalt. No one's ever looked for cobalt in this belt before. It's a great opportunity. All of the historic production and exploration has been focused on the gold, which is on a different structure. This sort of puts it in perspective. We're talking in situ value per tonne is the diamond. We're talking multiple thousands of dollars per tonne. This is some of the highest grade, highest value dirt you'll find in any commodity anywhere in the world. Some of our peers with very large market caps on much lower grades and larger ore bodies, but much lower grades. These are the West Australian assets. So we've got 2 down near Kalgoorlie and 1 in the Pilbara. The Silver Swan asset is Silver Swan South. We're 8 kilometres along strike of Kanowna Belle. Kanowna Belle is one of Australia's best underground gold mine. We think we've got an emerging gold discovery. We've hit 10 metres at 3.2 in early stage air core. We've got Evolution Mining nearby. We've got Northern Star. These are some of Australia's biggest gold miners converging in on the ground that we've got here, because we think we've got an emerging gold discovery there. That's the geochem signature, very similar to the size of the Kanowna Belle mine. The Kanowna Belle mine has been mined for the last 20, 30 years, one of Australia's best gold mines. We've got some ground near Saracen, some good hits there, 12 at 9, 10 at 8.5, so some good high-grade hits to follow up on there. This is our Pilbara gold asset. We're up near the Nullagine, Novo's original Beatons Creek project, so we're looking for more quartz vein hosted gold. We're not too interested in the conglomerates at this stage. So just in summing up, we've got one of the highest grade cobalt gold projects in the world. We're in a first world jurisdiction in British Columbia. We're hitting 3% plus 1% cobalt, very high grade gold, 20 to 30 grams per tonne gold. The first company in over 60 years to look for cobalt, and we've got the same geology as the Bouazir mine in Morocco. That's a world-class cobalt district. We think we've got a district scale potential. We've got a board and management team that have done this before for the last 20 years. Big discoveries, corporate success. Little Gem has the potential to do that all over again. Thanks.